Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Liberty 3 Pros from Soundcore. They finally refreshed the Liberty 2 Pros from last year with a smaller form factor, better battery life, of course, LDAC. We're also talking about the ability of pairing it to up to 2 devices at the same time, which again is something that I've been waiting for quite some time. This is TK and this is my review of the Liberty 3 Pros. And I'm going to talk to you guys why these pair of buds make my heart sing. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So first and foremost, the packaging is always super inclusive in at least the experience that Soundcore wants to give us. We not only have different size ear tips, we also have different size wings that you're able to attach to the side of the actual earbuds themselves to make sure that you have the right fit. We have the in-ear detection sensor here with an opening directly with it, and we'll talk about that in a second. And of course, the casing is actually much nicer, smaller than what we had last year. So if you guys remember last year, this is the Liberty 2 Pros. You could definitely see smaller form factor, roughly about, actually slightly about maybe I want to say 20% smaller. We still have the USB-C, and of course the here the reset button, as well as the ability of charging them via not only wire, but we can also use wireless charging. So definitely a really good improvement, and you can definitely see here that nice little accent ring all around it. Opening them up, pretty much the same experience, the 3 lights at the bottom. Now we actually gain a couple of lights here at the bottom next to them, letting us know that they're charging the buds themselves. Now, they of course include a USB-C to USB Type-A cable to be able to charge them wired, and of course all the instruction manual information that you want directly in the package here. And it is present right behind the actual instruction on how to use them. So again, included in here is everything that you need to get the right fit for your ears. And of course we have the 2 buds, and they normally when you first open up the package don't have any ear tips in them. That's the reason why you're missing these. So I've actually used the extra large ones and I already put them on, and that's why we have them here. And all of this of course is to customize the experience to your ears. The biggest thing that we have from last year to this year is that we no longer have the push button option here. This is basically touch sensitive on the actual pad. So the entire area here where we see basically the Soundcore logo is going to be our touchpad. The ear tips are replaceable, and of course you can just remove them. You can definitely see the higher quality options here. We have basically a proximity sensor here to be able to know when the earbuds are in our ear. And of course we have touch sensitivity controls configurable on each ear independently. Charging them in the case is pretty simple. You just align them. Basically you have the magnets here that puts them in there, and of course they fall in there inside, and the moment you put them in there you automatically get a little bit of a light inside letting you know that they're basically charging. When you close the case, the 3 LEDs on the outside tell you the case level charge here, and of course everything else looks really nice. USB-C does not have a gasket anymore. It's pretty much just a straight open, and this is the reset button in case you want to pair them to a new device. Again, keep in mind you can pair them to 2 devices at the same time, with a little bit of a caveat, and I'll explain to you in a second. Now, the really cool thing about this is that this Soundcore application just got updated this morning to be able to allow us to have these functions. The version I'm using right now is a pre-release version, but keep in mind, Liberty 3 Pros, you have the ability of seeing the battery level not only on the case, but the earbuds themselves. We have active noise cancellation with HearID, which means we're able to go in there and customize the experience to the environment. And I've already run the test, and this is why I have a couple of options. We have high level mode and of course comfort mode, where I'm able to actually control the ANC. Normal mode is pretty much just the standard experience, no difference than just the noise isolation that we get from these in-ear buds. So essentially it reduces the outside noise, but no active cancellation or noise cancellation in there. Transparency mode is the next level, which offers us 2 options. We have the ability of using just regular transparency mode specifically for voice or vocal enhancement, meaning if you're talking to somebody, it actually works specifically to enhance the audio, but otherwise you can keep it on full transparency if you just want to be aware of your environment. If there's too much wind, you can also turn on the wind noise reduction, which also helps as well. So again, a lot more options than we typically get from any earbuds, specifically from Liberty as far as the previous generation. The next option that we have here, we have HearID, the ability of customizing the experience to our ears. So you can take the HearID test, and of course you can have the HearID ANC test, which I've already taken. The main benefit here is that this is going to generate a custom EQ specifically made for your ears. So the sound effects here are pretty much the standard EQ settings. You can go for default, which gives you all of the presets that we've normally seen from Soundcore. Very nice. You can do the HearID sound. Once you do the test, you'll be able to use it. Now, 3D surround sound is supported, but you have to keep in mind that it does not work with LDAC. And actually, there's a couple of things here that don't work when LDAC is turned on. LDAC is going to give us the best audio processing that we can get on these buds, and we definitely want to use that for whenever we want to use those functions. But if you're trying to use it with multiple devices, that's going to be one of those things. It does not work with LDAC. And if you also want to be able to basically turn on 3D sound, you definitely need to be able to have it off of LDAC. Custom, of course, you can go in there and customize your own EQ. At this point, you could just go in there, set up and save them, and then you can use them, of course, for your own preferences. Now, the next option here is pretty much straightforward. Out of the box, it comes with the combined audio and connectivity quality, which means it actually doesn't do a bad job. It's actually pretty decent as far as the audio performance. The only difference is if you're trying to connect it to two devices at the same time and have that constant connection, let's say your PC and your phone, you definitely want to be able to drop it into this experience. But if you want to use LDAC, that's going to be where it limits a little bit of the functionality, but it gives you so much more when it comes down to audio performance. Now, when we have LDAC turned on, and you can notice right there, this will support SBC, AAC, as well as LDAC. LDAC is going to be the best quality audio that we're able to get. And what I really love about this is it gets us all the way up to 96 kilohertz, as well as 32 bits, which is really nice. So 32 by 96 is actually much better than what we typically get. And again, if we want to be able to switch it over, let's say we switch over to AAC, AAC would basically be 44 and 16. That's going to be the best. But it's always best to keep it up this way, and you don't actually have to go into developer options like I do. You can basically just control all of this directly from the Soundcore app by switching between one codec to the other. Now, because I want to be able to share with you guys exactly how it works with the connectivity concerns, I'm going to go ahead and switch it over. As you can see, it says it takes about 10 seconds to process this, so give it about a few seconds. Once the audio and connection is switched over, now we're able to do a few other things that we weren't able to do before. I will jump over real quick and talk about the configuration here. You'll notice that basically there's the left and right configuration for touch sensitivity. So you have single tap, double tap, hold for 2 seconds, tap 3 times, and that's going to be the different options, and each one is configurable differently on your ears. So here, this is the list of things you can do: play, pause, previous, next, volume up, volume down, and of course ambient sound, the ability of switching between A and C and ambient. Now, for me, I find that all of these options are very simple. Double tap basically does next track on the left ear, play, pause on the right. Press and hold turns on ambient sound or switches over basically transparency. You're able to do the different options, and you can customize it again with all the different options that you have in there. Triple tap turns on the voice assistant. So for me, it'll be the Google Assistant here, but if you're using it on an iOS device, obviously it'll initiate Siri for you. Now, the last thing we want to talk about is more options. First and foremost, we'll notice here that we have wear detection, and those are the two sensors that we have on the side. Device list, this is actually going to be the list of devices that these buds are connected to. So you'll notice right there, the Pixel 5 and the the S21 Ultra. Now, the last one that you have here is a list of all the other devices that it's connected to. This one is the Snapdragon Insider phone, which I want to talk to you guys about as well. And as you can see here on the right, I'm connected to both devices at the same time. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you cannot play the tracks from both devices at the same time. Although you're able to show them as if they're playing at the same time, whichever plays first will take over the sound quality. So in case you're starting a conversation or a track here, it's going to be playing first. You have to pause this one, pause the other one, start it up again. And now the track from the other device will go through. And let's say I want to be able to turn it on to my third device. All I have to do here is jump into the Bluetooth settings, and right there, activate the pair of the buds themselves, deactivate the S21. You can see right there that the connection works great. So you're able to jump between multiple devices, configure which devices that you're using on the fly and very easily. Now, the last thing obviously here is voice prompt. This is just notification. I have it just for the touch sensitivity. The fit test, you're able to do a quick audio fit test, and it basically turns on the audio from the earbuds and tries to hear how much audio is escaping from the earbuds, and then lets you know which one fits better or not. Auto power off, pretty standard, and of course firmware update. It's running version 03.35. That's pretty much it. The application is pretty straightforward. All the information I shared with you here are pretty simple and pretty easy to customize. But let me do this before we start talking about the actual audio quality. Let me give you an audio sample from these microphones on my S21 Ultra, recording them both with LDAC on and of course with regular audio connectivity with some background noise. So we're going to start off with an audio sample with LDAC turned on. So I'm using LDAC right now. It's activated inside of the app. And of course, we're doing just a quick audio sample just to see how the audio comes from the brand new Liberty 3 Pros. This is again using the S21 Ultra because it allows me to record video with Bluetooth as an audio source. So this is again LDAC turned on. So let's go ahead and turn off LDAC and go back to the regular codec and see if the audio performs better. There's a little bit of a background noise. Somebody's mowing the lawn not that far from where I am. So I'm wondering if you guys can hear it. There's also a little bit of a beeping. The intention here is to show you guys a little bit of how the audio sound and performs when you're recording audio, making phone calls, or even if you're outdoors trying to record video like the way I'm doing it right now with some background noise. Again, Liberty 3 Pros are seriously well-spec'd for the price, and they offer us so much more. The audio sample that I shared with you guys, again, had two different settings, one with LDAC and one with the standard audio codec. For the most part, I feel like it gave me the best performance, obviously, on LDAC. And one thing to keep in mind, LDAC does require it to use a little bit more battery, so battery life is a little bit shorter, although I wouldn't really worry about it. These things will last you forever, and the case can recharge them quite quickly for you. So that's one of the main benefits. When you're not using them, you can actually close the case itself and put it on a wireless charger and make sure that it keeps charging for you. So you're always running with a full charge on the case itself. They're obviously going to be able to be used independently. You don't have to have them both in your ears. So that's also one of the other options that you can do. The fit, again, is more customizable than ever between the ear tips and the actual wings that we have on here. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be something that you're going to need to make sure to go through this and basically make sure you have the right fit. You can definitely see they look very nice. They're minimalistic, and you can pick whichever color that you prefer. I think there's 4 colors that were released with these at the same time. Overall, the performance on this is definitely going to be, when it comes down to audio quality, very personal. Now, Soundcore and Liberty's pairs of buds are always going to be slightly bass heavy, which means you're going to definitely feel the bass when you're listening to audio. But the fact that we're able to go all the way up to 96 kilohertz with 32-bit processing here, this is something to keep in mind. The audio that you're going to be listening to is going to be better, which means you don't necessarily have to listen to the audio at a louder noise. That's a main benefit here. So better hearing health, and of course longer, I would say longer battery life, because the higher the volume, the longer, shorter the battery life. For me, as I showed you guys, I tested it out with my Pixel 5, my Galaxy S21 Ultra, as well as the Insider phone from Snapdragon. The reason behind that is I wanted to see how these buds work in the different scenarios. I will say this much though, the S21 Ultra for some reason does not want to run, or at least currently is having a little bit of an issue where it won't run LDAC all the time, even if I select it directly within the Soundcore app. In the developer settings, for me, it always goes back to AAC. Now, for me, that's probably going to be maybe a software update or something that needs to be fixed there. But the Pixel 5 and the Insider phone had no problem running it at 32 bits with 96 kilohertz, which again, you definitely want to be able to get the best experience. So as far as the audio that I played here, I played a whole bunch of different audio between classical, trance, dance, EDM, vocals, basically just overall instrumental type of music. And for the most part, you're going to get a very good balanced experience. I do recommend you doing the hearing test to set the EQ to your hearing specification so that the audio gets to be the best experience for you. It's always going to be a little bit bass heavy, so that's just something that Soundcore likes to tune their music. But I think overall it doesn't damage any of the mids and highs or even the vocals when you're listening to audio for an extended amount of time. Overall, LDAC will perform the best, although you notice that the benefits are obviously limited when you come to basically pairing it to 2 devices, as well as the ability of using 360 audio or 3D audio in there. So that's something to keep in mind. But if you definitely want to be able to listen to those, just switch it over and then you're able to get the experience very nicely. Now, as far as the range, it's pretty straightforward. I think you're going to be very happy. I was able to go about 20 to 25 feet away from my phone here in the office with about 2 walls between me and the distance. So I don't think there's going to be any issues leaving the phone on the desk and walking away. You do need to be aware of what codec you're using when you're trying to use these buds. If you're listening to audio or watching movies, you definitely want to be able to use LDAC. I think that'll give you the best audio experience. Now, if you're using them, let's say you're working, you want to listen to a little bit of music, but you want to have that multitasking functionality and using them with multiple devices, just drop the option, change the audio option away from LDAC, and you should be easily doing that. Both devices will connect and you'll be able to control out of one. So an example, whatever smartphone you're using in the app, you can go into the list of devices and then activate it. Switching it between the two is very seamless. Whoever initiates the audio source, be it your PC or your phone, or if it's 2 different phones, will take over. And of course, that's generally how it's going to be. So if you get a notification, it'll let you know from either one of the devices. I find like the PC and smartphone is going to be the best combo that we can use. For gaming, and I feel like that the audio performance is going to be much better off of LDAC. I don't think we really need high quality audio when you're playing games. So you want the fastest connection and the best connection to your smartphone. But I would probably also say that there is a slight delay there. There is not a low latency mode on this, and I don't think they're intended to be for gaming. But casual gaming that maybe not necessarily a first-person shooter should be pretty easy for you to play. To summarize, the experience that you're getting here is absolutely banging audio, great battery life, and of course a lot of functionalities over what we got last year with the Liberty 2 Pros. Smaller form factor, easier to fit in the small pocket in your jeans and carry with you. And again, you could use it with multiple devices, and just again, it gets better over time. As far as the S21 Ultra concerned that I talked to you guys about, I think more than likely this is something that could be fixed over the air with a software update to the application or even to the buds themselves. But I think this is definitely one of the best experiences you can get to date with earbuds in your ear from Soundcore. Again, the Liberty 3 Pros are one of the best. Like and subscribe as usual. And of course, if you stuck with me all the way to the end of this video, just be aware that there is a current promotion running right now on Amazon if you want to be able to pick them up. It's going to be $20 off, available directly in the link in the description below, so that at least you guys can get a little bit of savings. And I think it's going to go all the way up to the 14th. So if you decide to pick them up now, you're definitely going to be able to save it 20 bucks there. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support. I'll see you in the next video.